Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, January 30th, 2024 Select Board meeting. This meeting will be broadcast live and recorded by Foxborough Cable Access. All right, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief, why don't you lead us?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, is there anyone here for citizens input? All righty, come on up, state your name and your address and...
Good evening. My name is Greg McGrath. I live at 105 Washington Street in Foxboro, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to come in and speak. People take it for granted, but I don't. What I want to do is I want to speak about the hearing you had your last meeting on mail-in ballots, and I'm not going to re-argue the issue. You've already made your decision. But I did want to pass on some observations I had about the meeting and some of the things that were said or done. Firstly, I want to say not a single citizen showed up and testified against mail-in balloting. 3 persons did show up and testified in favor of it. Okay, I may have gotten that wrong, but nobody showed up to oppose it. Not a single citizen in Foxborough showed up to oppose that. 3 people showed up and asked you not to opt out of mail-in balloting. And to me, that's worth something. The second thing is that there was a lot of discussion about absentee balloting and the criteria. I'm not a lawyer, but I think the criteria or the interpretation Mr. Cutler has used, I don't think it would stand up in court. And if it doesn't stand up in court, we could be in a situation these days, a lot of election results get questioned these days, sadly, but they get questioned a lot. And if we're in a situation like that, I'd hate to have all our absentee ballots thrown out, and then we have to have an election all over again. So that's just a thought on my part. Okay. Bridgeport, Connecticut has had to do that now on a primary election. In fact, they have to redo an election. And finally, the last thing I want to say, this is what really set me off about the hearing. Okay, this really set me off. One of the members of the board asked a citizen if he was willing to spend an extra $10,000 to vote. I am a veteran. I could ask each one of you, are you willing to spend $877 billion to defend your country, to keep it safe? But that's a rhetorical and it's not good. To me, it's a cheap shot. Okay, I think it's crass and I think it's ignorant to ask a question like that when you're an elected official. Okay, and as I said, that's what set me off. For the record, I did a little math. I could be wrong, but I don't, well. $10,000 for mail-in ballots is 0.0004% of the town's budget. That is 4/10,000ths of 1% of a $34 million budget. Okay, and if you count all the registered voters, it comes out to about $1.20 per registered voter. That's, and so as I heard that meeting, I was listening and I'm thinking, there are people here, as Oscar Wilde would say, they might know the cost, but they don't know the value of anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's okay. That's what I get the big bucks for.
All righty. Next, we're going to continue a public hearing.
Do we want to say anything about why we're continuing before I make the motion?
Well, I think you should make the motion, then we'll discuss it.
Okay, all right. Motion to approve the request to continue the public hearing to Tuesday, February 13th, 2024.
Second.
Okay. For discussion, just a quick,
Sure. So as you recall, during the hearing, there was a plan for the Olive and Mint folks to go to the Board of Health in early January, and they were unable to make that meeting, so they have not yet met with the Board of Health, and hopefully they will do so this month.
I'm just curious.
Next month, February.
I'm curious, though, because at that hearing, it was very clear what the day of the meeting was and what the next steps were and how that then triaged into the dates for our meeting. And from what I understand, they canceled the same day. And were they out of the country or were they?
They were out of the country,
Okay.
apparently.
Okay.
So hopefully, I can't remember now the date, maybe this coming Monday, they're trying for, but I can't confirm. It's up in the air. But not the good thing is they are not operating.
that was going to be my question.
Yeah, they are not
No
operating.
licenses, no
No.
functions, no nothing.
Let's say, Katie just passed on. So they are going to the Board of Health on February 5th, and they hope to come into the Select Board on February 13th.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from the board?
No, I guess maybe it's a question, so after they go to the Board of Health, then they'll come to us and we'll get our updates. Just curious, did New Year's Eve go okay?
It did.
Okay.
Okay.
It did.
Okay.
No issues.
Probably more question for.
Because what I remember is they couldn't have alcohol without the food, and so the food has to come first with the Board of Health, and then they'll come back to us, is how I recalled it, if that's accurate.
Well, they
But
were
New
able-
Year's Eve, I think, there were no
Able-
incidents. They were able to shut down prior to midnight, and from my understanding, there were no concerns from any of the team.
Okay.
Great.
Have you gotten any verbal updates on what the status is up there?
No, I heard they're working on it, but I don't, they've made progress, but I haven't heard anything in the past week or so. But after New Year's and around that time, it sounded like they were making progress.
All right.
All right. All those in favor of continuing? Aye. Great.
So we're going to continue it to February 13th.
13th.
Yes.
Correct. Unless something else happens. Strategic plan presentation. You guys already have your seats worked out and you're all set.
It's all about planning.
It's all about planning.
So I'd like to thank the board for having us and town manager. To my right is Deputy Chief Noonan, Lieutenant Burns, and John Osman from Osman Business Strategies. Over the last several years, budget presentations to the board, to AdCom, have really started to mold where a municipal agency should be heading and what the expectation is, not just for delivery of services, but also how we're spending taxpayers' money. I've taken that input from many, many members of the AdCom committee, and in working with building this strategic plan, we took the approach of thinking outside the box and not just finding another company that does municipal strategic planning and have like a cookie cutter presentation of a different department, but now our name's stamped on it. So we really started from the ground up and really took the entire agency. We took everybody involved, and under John's guidance, and he, as the facilitator, we redesigned what the future of the Foxborough Police Department looks like. This is the first time it's ever been done in the history of the department. There's been many attempts and many fails. There's been many assessments of the department, at least in the last, since 2016 and before, that kind of assessed the department for the board. But this really is our roadmap, and the goal of the roadmap is to also work with the town manager goals, the financial planning of the GFOA goals that are directed in the budget. So I'm going to now hand it over to John to kind of give a little background about who he is, because I asked him to do this. He had some reservations because it's not how he operates, but it was important that the person presenting to the board, you understand what he does for a living and how we came up with the finished product.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Good evening, and thank you for your time this evening. But I don't like to talk about myself, so I'm going to flip through the first 3 or 4 slides very fast to get to the real plan. But the chief asked me to do this, so I'm throwing him under the bus. I do something a little bit unique. I've had a full career, normal, I guess, corporate career, and then I moved to the Cape, and I'm from Orleans, and in the town of Orleans, I'm on the planning board, I'm on the Economic Development Committee and the Long Range Capital Planning Committee, so I'm very much at home, right? So I'm sort of immersed in town government in Orleans. But anyway, when I moved there, I sort of left my corporate life behind, and after a little stint in banking for a while, I started a consulting company, really just me. But what I do is I work with for-profit clients and do their strategic planning and then stay with them and implement the plan. So I'll either take a position with the company as a COO or a CFO or something like that to get them from where they are to where they want to be. And my town started to find out about me, and the chief of police there, Chief McDonald, said, would you like to do a strategic plan for a municipal organization? And this was in 2014, and that's how this little niche of my normal business began. So I have a for-profit client group, and then I now have a growing municipal set of clients, of which Foxborough, actually, as you'll see here, is one of the best plans I've ever done. And it really, visually, when you see it, it's really gorgeous, but the content is very good too. So just very briefly, I'm focused on defining and achieving the vision of businesses and organizations. So it's finding out where they want to go and helping them get there. And this is sort of the basis of what we did for the Foxborough Police Department. I'm a trusted in-place executive to develop and implement a strategic plan and provides leadership and solve problems along the way. So that's what I do for a living is I problem solve, and I first, by doing strategic planning, you find out what's wrong or what's right, and then you take it from there. So that's sort of the process we used with Foxborough. Very, very briefly, gray hair, 40 years, Fortune 500 companies, financial institutions, mid-sized companies. I've done a few startups, and they're fun. National trade associations, and I spent 35 years working with nonprofits. So I've done a lot of business organizations, and coming to the municipal world is very different, right? But as you'll see in a minute, there's a uniqueness to that helps. So I'm an engineer by degree. I've taken some business programs at the University of Delaware and University of Chicago. Again, flipping through these fast. And what I do is strategic planning and plan implementation. So I've run marketing organizations, I've run manufacturing organizations, I've run sales organizations, I've run financial organizations, all the different parts of a company. The only part I probably never have done is human resources, and somebody else can do that. So somebody else.
Leah's got that covered on the board. So.
That's a whole different world for me. But anyway, so again, going through this fast, I help for-profit people, companies develop and implement their strategic plan, manage strategic growth, which is, there's growth and then there's strategic growth, because growth, just for the sake of growth, is inefficient, non-profitable, and not sustainable. Strategic growth is a whole different animal, and that's the way companies really want to grow. I provide executive guidance to owners and their senior teams, and that's who I work with on a weekly basis. And I work with companies in transitions. Sometimes there's retirements, mergers and acquisitions, ownership changes, and sometimes companies need major surgery. So sometimes you have to go in and fix everything. And that's no fun, but it's a challenge. So municipal clients, I develop the strategic plan and the process that they can carry on for years to come. I bring, basically, the uniqueness here is I bring the business insights from the private sector into the public space. And so I'm a little bit unique, and people I work with, like the chief and his staff and other police and fire departments, tell me that this is a little bit unique because normally the people that do this are the retired police chiefs, the retired fire chiefs, and you're getting sort of the, sorry, but the same old, same old, same old. And so I come in from a different world, and I look at, in this case, the Foxborough Police Department as a business. Well, how is it run as a business? I did this with my church. Well, church is a business. Your synagogue is a business. Your mosque is a business. Your home is certainly a business. Why not look at police and fire and municipal organizations in a different way? So that's what we've done here. So these are just a few of the ones that I've done. Holliston up the street from you here. On the Cape, Yarmouth Fire, Brewster Police, Brewster Fire, and Orleans Police. I've done 2 of their plans. The 3rd one's coming up next year. So I've had some experience doing this so far, and I do no advertising. It's all word of mouth, so it's getting around. So, and let me just tell you, the satisfaction of dealing with first responder organizations is just amazing. The organization you have here is a wonderful group of people. And just as a quick aside, because we did put this in the plan, second meeting that we had, we were about a half an hour into the plan, and there was a active shooter alert. And I'm not kidding. The room emptied in 4 seconds. They were on it, in the cruisers, gone, locked down everything, took care of everything. Finest tradition I've ever seen in police. And then about an hour and a half later, they all came back, and we kept going. So, tribute to them. So, Foxborough Police Strategic Plan. Why? So, they really haven't engaged in the full planning process. There have been fits and starts in the past, but not really a complete project. And they wanted to, and part of doing a strategic plan with any organization, not police and fire, but also in private industry, it's a unifying process really of usually of the senior staff of getting together what works well, what doesn't work so well, what are the opportunities coming forward, and what are the threats to your organization.
SWAT.
SWAT. You'll see SWAT coming up here in a few minutes. So they wanted to pull the team together. Everybody has ownership of this plan because we're all involved in it. And where are we going for the next 5 years? To establish a vision and a way to get there. So I initially met with Chief Grace and the senior team to review the process and the timeline, how long it would take. And then we did a confidential SWOT analysis with the department personnel via email. And so what I do here is that what we want is unvarnished input. We want strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats from every person's perspective. And so it's kept confidential. Only I know what the input is. And I play it back to the whole organization with no names. So no one is identified in it, but we get the unvarnished truth, and it is a cathartic event when it happens for all organizations. And it takes a lot of trust on the part of the police chief or the fire chief and the senior staff to really take it, because some of it is very blunt. In our case here, not so bad. So it was very honest and very engaging, but it becomes the raw material to build your plan once you have an understanding of what everybody thinks is going on. I want to say also here that we had 98% of the department provide input. So normally if I get 70%, I am very, very happy. We had 98%, which is the best I've seen yet. So we had our first department meeting, where we talked about the strategic planning process. And then what everybody wanted to see is, okay, play back the SWOT. So we play back to them the consolidated version of this. There are a lot of course, repeats or similar things being said. That's all consolidated so we save time. And we look at all the strengths, all the weaknesses, all the opportunities, and all the threats to see what everyone is saying, and everybody gets to see it at the same time. Then we have a break, because you need to have a break after that. And then the second half of the meeting is really a discussion of mission, core values, and vision. So for those of you who don't know the jargon here, is a mission statement is a statement about what you are and what you do today. It's a statement of today's identity. Core values are who you are as an organization. What do you value? And this becomes important later on as we get into it. And then the vision, which is really, in a way, the most important part of the plan, is where you're going. So a mission is today, a vision is where you want to go. So this becomes the bookends of the plan. So that was meeting one. Meeting two was we finalized the mission and vision statements, finalized the core values, developed strategic goals. So you take this vision and then you have to develop the pillars under which this vision is supported. Generally, it turns out to be 5 or 6 or 7 buckets of information or goals or pillars that support the vision. And we'll see what those are in a few minutes. So we finalized or developed the strategic goals and then identified objectives for each one of the strategic goals. So under each goal, these big pillars, you're going to have 5 or 6 or 7 or 3 or 4 objectives that once you meet those, you achieve the goal, you achieve the goals, you achieve the vision. So you'll see the structure in a minute. So after this second meeting, we had 5 small working group meetings, one each week for 5 weeks. And these small working group meetings are meetings that each week would be on a different strategic goal. In this case, we had 5. And for each one of the meetings, it's a different group of people. It would be the chief and I, and then 3 or 4 or 5 other folks that would change each week depending upon what the goal was. So if the goal was facilities and technology, we'd have a certain group in that meeting. If it's on training and staffing or something, we might have a different group there. So we had a group, each one of the small groups, and we had 5 of them, focused on a specific strategic goal. And so in those groups, we get down to, we have vision, then we have these strategic goals, then we have objectives, and then we get into, okay, what are we really going to do? What's the to-do list? And that's the developing of strategies and action plans for every objective. So the bulk of the strategic plan, and I think this one is 74 pages, the bulk of the plan are these action plans and strategies. So then after the 5 small working group meetings were done, we had the third and final department meeting where we had everybody together in one room and we played the whole thing for the group, for any final edits or, hey, you know, that's completely wrong, let's fix this. And that was the basically the process. So then after that's all done, we then finish some content development. Chief writes a letter, I write a few things. And then we have format and graphic design. I have a person that works with me to take these plans and make them communicate well, make them look nice. We take action shots and pictures of the department in motion, and you'll see a few of those in a minute. But it helps to convey the information a lot better. So we had one vision, 5 strategic goals, 22 objectives, 55 strategies, and 170 things to do. So it's a lot of work. So let's take a look at the plan. So this is the front cover, and you'll recognize probably a few people in this, and a collage of just the Foxboro Police in action. So this is a strategic plan, fiscal year 2025, so we're a little bit ahead of the game, but to get ourselves started, 2025 through 2029, and a lot of the actions in this plan are already in motion. Now, I'm not going to play all 74 pages, so don't get too excited about that. So we're just going to do some highlights here. But on the second page, we'll have the mission, we'll have the vision, core values and beliefs, and some of the themes that emerged of where we're going with this plan.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
When did you guys start this? When did you,
We were just talking about this. We started this after last year's Gillette season, because our window is very small when we can really tackle department issues, because we're not being pulled 7 different ways. So we started probably corresponding in about January, February. I think we rolled out in March.
A year ago.
Yeah. So our goal was to get it from done, because we knew July 1st, we just don't have, I can't do department meetings, vacations. So our goal was to complete it then. We had the meat and potatoes, but then we had transition within the town. We didn't have a town manager. So we have been, 8 months without a town manager, and presenting this plan without a town manager in place it kind of undermines the effect of it, because really, a lot of the goals that come from the town manager's office will work and coincide with this. So it's almost been almost a year. I mean, a little bit of stretch, about 10 months. And we've been done for a little bit. We've been just kind of waiting the last couple months of when we could find an opportunity to present. So this was it, because it looks like your schedule is full for the rest of the
that
year.
seems like an awful lot of work in a short period of time. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I just wanted to put it in perspective.
This takes from zero to having a document is about 4 to 5 months.
Okay.
Takes that. So table of contents is a message from the chief, an overview of the department with some statistics. You'll have an org chart in here. You'll have a strategic planning process and implementation written by me, like what is strategic planning all about, and then one that's specific to Foxborough Police is the process we actually went through. Acknowledgements, which are a naming of all the people involved in the process, so it's really the roster of the whole police department and others. Then we have a listing we'll see here in a second of page 12, which is goals and objectives, which is a real framework of the plan. And we'll look at the strategic plan format, how each one of these strategy pages looks. And then the meat of the plan is goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, goal 4, goal 5. And those are divider pages, which will show all the strategies underneath those as we go through it. So we'll go through a few of those, and then we'll wrap up, because we're not going to go through every single page. So this is the beginning, really, of the plan. After we get the vision and the mission, core values understood, then we create a set of strategic goals, which are the 5 goals in the gold on top. And underneath each one of these strategic goals are a set of objectives that when you meet them, you then achieve the goal. So goal 1 was delivery of law enforcement services. Goal 2 was enhance organizational and professional development. Goal 3 was nurture culture and communications. Number 4 was manage Gillette Stadium public safety. No other organization has one like this. Right? So, you have Foxborough, the town police department, and then you have the people that manage Gillette Stadium, all wrapped into one department. So goal number 4 is unique. No one else has anything like this. And then goal 5 is leverage facilities, equipment, and technology. So in those, in some organizations there'll be 6, some organizations there'll be 4. It all depends upon the needs of the organization, how you're constructed, all of that. But this is the way it sort of organically fell out. And then each one of these goals has a set of objectives. For example, delivery of law enforcement services, which was the real focus, I think, of this strategic plan, is emphasis on patrol, traffic safety, coordination and communications, mental health and policing, support dispatch, community outreach and engagement, support animal control officer, and emergency notification system. So there's a lot in that, and it's a lot of the plans in there. Goal 2 has training, staffing, career development, and recruitment and onboarding. Goal 3 is retention, recognition, wellness, and internal communications. Goal 4 is, again, all Gillette-centric. Gillette resource cost accounting, Gillette Stadium public safety coordination, and department restructuring to address Gillette. And I kept arguing with them that they're not asking for enough money. You know, when they sell their services to Gillette Stadium, you need to get more money from them. It's just you're not getting paid enough. But that's my opinion. Anyway, and then under facilities.
And that would be the town.
Yes, the
Yeah,
town
not
is not
the
getting
offices
paid.
themselves.
No, the town is not
It's
getting paid
about
enough
whether
for all of this.
Billing or invoicing and stuff like that.
Correct.
Coordination.
Right.
Yes.
So, and then goal 5 is leverage facilities, equipment, and technology, police station upgrade and expansion, public safety substations, equipment and maintenance programs, and then one on IT. So there's quite a range of things going on here and a lot of information, but this is a lot of work on the part of the department to put up with me for all of these meetings and to go through this in quite a lot of detail to develop all of these goals and objectives and strategies and the 170 action plans. So the print's a little small here, but this just shows where it says example is each one of the strategy pages will have on it the goal that we're talking about, the objective that's underneath the goal, strategy 1, strategy 2, or strategy 3. This was strategy 1. And that will give a action plan. It will say the purpose for doing it, a measure of success. It'll say the target completion date and the funding year for doing this. So there's a lot of information. Plus, each one of these strategies and action plans gets assigned to somebody or a group of people. So their names appear in here as well. Some organizations like to even have the picture of the person and their name and their title in it, so there's no question as to who's responsible. In this particular case, we left the names in, but we opted for some more just pictures. So this is, I'll just go through the divider pages and then we'll wrap up here. So goal 1 was delivery of law enforcement services. Goals, 7 objectives were emphasis on patrol, traffic safety, went through these already, mental health and policing, support dispatch, community outreach and engagement, support animal control officer and emergency notification system. This is the Army-Navy game from this past year, so we were able to get that picture in. But then these are all the strategies underneath it. Each strategy, like strategy 1, strategy 2, represents a page and a set of action plans and a purpose and measures of success and strategy sponsors, the people who are responsible, when we're going to do it, how we're going to pay for it, all these sorts of things. So there are 5 of these. So this would be what's encompassed in goal 1. Goal 2 is enhance organizational and professional development. And again, there's training, staffing, career development, recruitment, and onboarding. And under each one of these, you have 2 or 3, or in case 4, strategy pages which describe a set of actions that we need to take, like increase training budget or address institutional vulnerability, critical incident training programs, staffing data review, department staffing, preparedness resources, administrative support, on and on. So there's quite a bit of detail in all of this. So you can drill down into this plan and find a lot of things. So not everything is going to happen next week. This is a 5-year plan, so over a period of time, you're going to want to accomplish most or all of these things. Goal 3 is nurture culture and communications. This is the internal looking one, which is about how do we take care of ourselves? How do we take care of us? So there's wellness in here, recognition, retention. This is about morale. This is about attracting people, to get people to come and work and stay working within the organization. And internal communications, about how we talk to each other, what kind of email we use, how we consolidate the way we talk to each other, that sort of thing. Again, this is the unique one, manage Gillette Stadium public safety. A lot going on here, a lot of things to do. There's an accounting piece in here, there's a public safety coordination piece here, and then there's restructuring the department because, again, you have a local police organization, and then you have the people that manage Gillette, and it's the same organization that has two real missions. And the one that's sort of nuts and bolts, but this is very important, leverage facilities, equipment, and technology. Again, we talk about the police station itself. We'll talk about substations, looking at the available town-owned facility across town, and also looking at a substation in Gillette. Equipment maintenance programs, sounds pretty boring, but if you don't maintain equipment, it eventually costs you more money. So this is important. And IT. So much going on there. So that's the skimming view of 74-ish pages, 74, yeah, 74 pages of a strategic plan. And I just can't tell you how much of a pleasure it was to work with the department. The team here is, of what I've seen of other departments, is outstanding. And they're just a great group of people. And, you know, we had discussions about diversity, and I remember hearing that the female locker room was too small, and there was all big discussion about that. I think we're taking action on that.
We're hopeful.
We're hopeful, yeah. And, but we just had this wide-ranging conversation about all kinds of things, from facilities to wellness to Gillette Stadium. I mean, it was just a pleasure. So anyway, we'll take questions if anyone has them.
Dennis?
No, this is superb, really. And I've been through a lot of strategic plans, SWOT analysis, mission, vision, values, objectives, you know, measurements, you know, for the strategies. So this is really well put together. The only thing I didn't see was values. You're getting into the value discussion.
So, yeah,
We had that conversation.
We had that
We were ready
conversation.
for this.
So, the worlds that I come from, when we do strategic planning, the only numbers that would actually appear in a strategic plan would be like, you know, if we're in the private sector, sales goals or some sort of growth numbers, that sort of thing. But normally what happens is when we do strategic planning, we'll do the plan, which are like the words, but the numbers are the music, and the financial plan comes after that. So this is a tool that helps the chief and his staff build the budget, build the capital plan, that sort of thing. That follows on from this and blows out from this. But on purpose, there are very few, if any, numbers in this. So it's a non-financial plan.
Just to follow up, and then I'll yield. If we wanted to do this for the whole town, for the organization, is it something you've been doing as well?
So I'm heavily involved right now, being on the planning board. Our 20 years is up, and we're doing our comp plan right now. So we're doing comprehensive plan, which people argue about this, but it's sort of like a strategic plan for the community. Comp plans, in the Massachusetts way of doing it, are technically land use plans, which I think that we're getting past that. And they're really more long-range strategic plans, of which land use is just a part. And where I come from in Orleans, it's land use and water use, because half of everything there is water. So it's an evolutionary thing. So I don't know, to try to answer your question, I don't know that an effort that somebody like me could do for the town would be, it could be different than your comp plan. But one would think that, you know, you're doing your comp plan, I don't know when your last one was, might incorporate something like this. They might be the same effort. I would hate, to answer it better, I would hate to see two different efforts. Maybe you put them together in one sort of
Perfect
thing.
timing. Ours is due to start 2025.
Yeah.
So we're teeing it up.
Seth?
Yep, really impressive work, John and team. So there's, of the goals and objectives that are laid out in the plan, there's, a lot of them are in various stages of work being done already, over the, you know, many years of you know, Mike's leadership. But this is a forward-looking document, so it's includes work to be done, items to be tackled, strategies to be used. I'm just trying to understand how it relates to, what's been done and what we're looking at to move forward.
So just to briefly answer that, most strategic plans also include things that you're somewhat already doing, but want to continue to do because they're good.
Right.
Right? So there's some of that in here that is would be considered ongoing. I hate to use that term ongoing, but
That's what I'm getting at, though, yeah. it's the
There's some
ongoing piece.
ongoing, not a lot, but there's a few things that are, let's not fix something that isn't broken,
Right.
right? So there's ongoing, but I would say a lot of what appears in this plan are new initiatives that will happen over the next 5 years.
Got it, thank you.
And Seth, just to follow up on that, what we've seen in the last couple of years is the change in policing. We've seen some of the issues with staff retention, people not coming to the job. So trying to be ahead of that is that if we're going to invest in people, we're going to hire people, we want to make sure they stay. And we want to make sure that they're invested in this process. And as we tackled this, all of the working groups, there was no voluntold participation. Every single group, and John, you said 4 or 5, we were like 6 or 7, even in the small working groups. So the staff, the whole department, and I credit them, they were part of it. They wanted, and we made it very clear, if you want to be, and you are part of the future, you get to make and stake your claim about how we deliver services to the residents of Foxborough, using the best practices of policing in conjunction with our accreditation standards. So everybody got to be part of this, and it really was ripped apart, thrown up on the table, back on the table, and really ripped apart it many times because we started going down a way that it just didn't make sense, and we had counter opinions about certain things, and it really is all-inclusive for everybody. So, and many of the things, as soon as we started this process, the lights went on. When I say the lights went on, hey, we got to get on this. So we started the plan last spring, and all of a sudden, we're looking at it as a command staff, and some of the offices are like, hey, we gotta do this. We gotta get this going. So we're not even finished with the plan, and the energy was there to make sure that we're getting ahead of some of this stuff. And many of the items on this, they're not like, oh, I need money. It's really on us to manage the workload, and for example, like staff retention. Like, that's on us. Onboarding, that's like processes. So when people get hired, they feel like they're a professional, that they're processed through the town, and they're welcomed, and everything is done properly. So, and diversifying the agency, it doesn't cost money, but you have to have insight, you have to have vision to make sure that your agency reflects your people. Well, if we don't talk about it and we don't put it out there, we won't get there. So literally, surface right to the top. How can we do better? So it's creative, and it really, as we talk for budgets, especially like with AdCom, when we get the workbooks and we get the request of, okay, where's the police department budget going? What are you doing with it? Well, guess what? We're going to refer back to, so every one of those has a fiscal year associated with, which I was tasked with, thank you, John, is breaking down all 147 of them and finding what fiscal year we want to try to meet on each one of those goals. So when I put my police budget together, I'm going to look at my FY25 goals and say, this is where we want to go. And these are the goals that we're trying to accomplish based on the information that we've received. And we will, we'll put this out to the residents. We'll put it on our website. Any feedback, we would love to hear about the good, the bad, or if they want to see something else. But we're pretty confident that we're checking all the boxes and making sure we're delivering the best services to the community with this.
So staff buy-in is key, because as much of a plan you can come up with, you can't execute it alone. So that's really great to hear the amount of buy-in that there was amongst the department. And we know that it's a lot harder to make things happen in the municipal world than in the private world. So it sounds like all these goals are doable. They're not necessarily like pipe dreams. Like, these are real strategic goals that you feel you can execute in the next, by fiscal year 29.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow.
So as a quick comment here too, is that, we had 3 full department meetings where we went through all of this as a group, the big stuff like strategic goals and mission and vision and all of that. But there's a group dynamics thing that happens when you have a very large group versus having a very small group. That's why we have the small groups. Because if you have under the magic number, I think, is 7 or 8. People talk to each other in a certain way when there's a group of 7 or 8. It's different than a group of 15. If you've ever seen a nonprofit board of 20 people, you don't get a lot done. But if you have a nonprofit board of 7 or 8, lots of things get done. So this is designed on purpose to be small enough so you're having the kind of conversations you want to have about, no, this will never work, let's do it this way. No, that's wrong, let's do it. And there's a lot of iterative going back and forth. And each one of these small group meetings were 2 or 3 hours long of us in a room, locked in the room, like, let's go and hammer this out and get it done. But it's pretty amazing what happens, because all of your past history and all the things that, let's say, didn't work in the past, everybody wants to get rid of. What are we going to do that's new? And so my role is to irritate people, to get them to go where they want to go, and to get out of them what they really want to say in a safe space. So in the room, there's no rank. In the small group room, there's no rank. And people, as we went through the process, got more freer about being honest about what they wanted to achieve. And so at the end of the day, you have a group of people who have bought into this, because no one can argue with it, because everybody's name is in there. You know, in some cases, not pictures here, but their names are on pages in here. And they said yes. So we're not arguing about where we're going. We're just spending more time about doing. And that's the ultimate goal of the plan, is to actually do something.
Excited to see it roll out.
Yeah, I guess more a comment than a question. First, thank you, John, very impressive. And not surprised of how much you enjoyed working with Chief's Force, because we feel like they're pretty special around here too. I look forward to really seeing it. And I know a couple of times, Chief, you and I, like when we've seen each other in the community, we've had a couple of conversations of how your job has changed. It's not the same as it used to be. And this force is very involved in the community, things that are going on. It's not just the actual policing, and when people are in need of the police, it's all over town for different things. So kudos for doing this, and very, very impressive.
And we did go over, and I apologize. It's just hard to do 20 minutes.
Just, final comment. So the key thing with this is you get the book, but then it's all about execution.
Absolutely, it doesn't
I've
go in
seen
the
a lot of
drawer.
organizations, they do it, they do the work, book goes on the shelf.
No, it's not going in.
So you'll be with them for?
So to answer that question, I do something called a scorecard. So, and I do it usually after the first year. I usually do it every year. I may not wait that long, we'll see. But I take this plan, and I have a spreadsheet where I say, did you start it or non-started? Did you complete it? Is it in process, ongoing, developing, whatever? And we see where you are.
I already have the spreadsheet built.
I bet you do. But I have one too. So, but anyway, and so I have a scorecard, and I will come back to them on occasion and see where they are and see how they're doing. And, we'll manage from there.
Yeah, and people will change, and people will retire, and people will get promoted. So these will be some of the roadmaps for their job as
But the
well.
point you're bringing up here is a very, very good one. And a key one here is plans are fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing this one, but plans don't mean anything unless you actually do something. So if you put it on the shelf and it looks pretty, we failed. It looking pretty is good, but using it and making it part of your existence and building your budgets on it and building your staff and training your staff and doing all the innovative things you want to do, then we were successful. It's all about execution, exactly right.
And next year, when you come in front of us as your department head meeting, it'll be interesting to, as a little side note, where you are. No, not the whole thing, but,
You giving me the agenda already?
a little bit. You
Make it
you sorta-
easier.
You threw it right at us, so.
Trend monitoring, it's not financial, it's police
Yeah, that's
trend
fine.
monitoring.
Yeah, no, because we know you keep concise when you make your presentation to us anyway, so we'll give you an extra few minutes to
No, an extra
let us know
couple.
where you're.
Okay. That'd be great, because we'll be going through the list and see where we're at, so it really, and ultimately, you're gonna not get something you wanted to do. I mean, we can't control finances, we can't control some of those things, but if I don't ask for them and I can't, show what it means to the community, then, it's shame on me if I'm not asking, and then I can put the ball in your court to see if you can deliver on some of the stuff, so it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah.
It's definitely, long
It looks like
overdue.
it. Huh?
It's long overdue,
Yeah.
and it really is a great roadmap.
Yeah, great. Good
I just
job
want to
all-
say
all-
you kind of raised the bar,
Yeah.
showing off a little bit. We've been talking strategic planning on this side of the desk, and
A little bit further along, are they?
yeah, just a little bit. Gives me a little envy, but very impressive, very impressive. I can see why you wanted us to see it. And today he's like, have you read my strategic plan? I'm like, no, not yet, but I will, I promise.
Awesome.
Very
Thank you
impressive.
very much.
very
Thank you
much.
guys
Thank
very
you.
much
Thank
for taking the time to come down.
And John, we might want to pick your brain a little bit.
Please do, call me.
Thank you, I will. I'd love that.
You did a nice job. Good job. Thanks.
All right, that's good. Yeah, really. Little behind schedule, but we're not going to hold you to that, Chief. Don't worry about it. Discuss town manager / townwide goals review. It's sort of just a little follow-up to the January 16th meeting.
Yes, just to give you an update on why we're here today on this. This was originally going to come up on February 13th. You'd given me a month, but our February 13th meeting is fixing to be a big meeting. So I took what I had received so far and figured I'll give you a quick run-through of where we're at. Paul, are you able to let me share my screen? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
No, yeah, so it's a quick one now, so we could skip a little bit and try to keep the 13th.
Yeah, we're not going to do it
We're not
on
going
the
to iron them out
13th.
tonight.
Right, this is just an update.
Yeah, this is just like department heads, where have we been, what have we done? Okay, let me get to I have to give Mark Craig credit. Today, again, we're pretty busy in the budget season. I'll be issuing the memo on it on Thursday, so we've been in meetings, and so today I had I had all the content and a blank screen, and I called him up and I said, you any good at making PowerPoints look good? So he came through big time, so hats off to Mark for that. So just to go through, so that's the first goal. I'm not going to read everything. We've all seen it. We've all done it. But here's the way in the update. The building department has issued new fees. You all were part of that process, so that was passed. The police department is in the process of looking at updating certain fees, so that's underway. The health department is looking at fees as part of their updated regulations. And planning, zoning, and conservation, well, that's something that the new planner gets to work on, but that's something we have not updated. We do visit the fees, but we haven't really done a good hard look. So I did put that on I have a to-do list for that planner to come in. And so that is something that is on the horizon for planning. With respect to grant funds we've used $1.4 million in federal grants, mostly ARPA, and then $735,000 in state grants. In the grants awarded, partial list is Board of Health has gotten 3 grants, the Yukon TAB grant, Public Health Excellent grants, and the Community Health Network Alliance grant. Planning, we've gotten a community planning grant for the MBTA communities of $90,000, Mass Housing Partnership for MBTA communities of $20,000, Mass Gaming Commission for tourism and economic development of $272,000, and then we have an ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. We believe we will be awarded. All signs indicate it, they just haven't awarded it yet, but we are actually even going out to procurement because we've been tipped off we should, and that would be for $250,000. If we get that, that would allow us to evaluate all our facilities for ADA compliance. It's actually a law, a requirement we do it, and it'd be great to have the state pay for it. The other interesting thing we'd look at is things like our website, our meetings. It really looks at accessibility, not just physical, but all. So stay tuned for that one. On the human services side, they're always looking for grants and primarily run on sources other than taxation. So they have revolving funds, gift funds, and over $200,000 in grants over there. And then Police Department just got a $44,500 award from the Edward Byrne Justice Assistance. And then they also got $29,500 from the Executive Office of Public Safety. Fire Department, they got a grant of $19,000 for fire service equipment, and Emergency Management Preparedness Grant, $4,600. I can send you all, this is all my notes, so I could, if you ever want to get all this, I just didn't want to read everything. With respect to revenue, we're always looking, as you can see by the grants and whatnot, we're always looking to create new revenue streams to cover operating costs. This year, this isn't necessarily operating, but as you know, we're working on the Pratt School. I think that will be coming on the 13th for you to sign the deed, so that is moving forward. And we did just settle 2 tax title properties, 175 Mechanic Street and 76 North High, so those are in the pipeline. Unfortunately, we can't bring those to town meeting due to some court cases, not associated with these properties themselves, but questions. Heirs have about a year to contest, and also there's been a recent court case nationally questioning whether towns get to keep the profits from a sale. So town council has suggested that we not move too quickly on it, but at least we've gotten through the courts. It took something like 4 years to get through due to COVID, so we're finally cleared that. Efficiency. So Permitize, that was funded by a $200,000 grant last year. That's our online electronic permitting. That has gone great. Building and administration through Katie have used that. They're fully online with Permitize. I think Katie can attest to the fact that, I think she brought it up, that the coordination for licensing this year was tremendous between Building, Board of Health, and Katie, so it really allowed a streamlined approach to inspections. The Board of Health is almost completed with their upgrade, and another job for the land use director is to bring planning, zoning, and conservation up on that. That's the last department who will join under our grant. There was a reorganization in the assessor's office. Rather than outsourcing data collection, we reclassified a position and utilized a position we already had to do that. The savings was about $10,000 per year. And the DPW also reorganized, which was a necessary thing, given the scope and the workload and the number of construction projects. So that was another example of efficiency. For the budget, FY24 was balanced and the tax rate was set. It was resulted in a reduced tax rate for both residential and commercial, although I know everybody's bills always go up. The values went up, but the rate did go down. I won't belabor the GFOA budget, but got to mention it one more time, Budget Distinguished Award. And then just of note is the building department collected over $1.77 million in permit fees from July 1 to June 30th of 2023. So that was a big year. We've had a couple big years because of the North End Zone. We can't expect those to continue, but it certainly was a boon to the community. All right, finally on to the next one.
Just real quick on thinking about new fees. I just want to maybe a little bit of guidance when we think about those, that that may be appropriate when they cover the cost of service. But we just want to be careful about trying to roll out fees that are covered already in taxes, or if they're targeted and, again, they cover the cost, they may be appropriate, but just want to be careful about new fees on the community.
That's valid. And, in reviewing that, I think I even wrote that note when I was talking with the plan, when I was writing the planning note down, is that it can only cover the cost. I mean, there have been court cases where you can't price gouge and make money off of it. I should note, one warning to the community is that a stormwater fee is likely to occur. That's coming at a national level, as you know, with the NIPDs. I can tell you, I live in the town of Franklin. We've been paying a stormwater fee for a year. I know Dedham has. It is coming. The mandates and the requirements that the town is being expected to do stormwater-wise, and I know DPW is coming in on February 13th as well. I think they're going to it's not coming up this year, but it's something that I'm aware of. But it's something that town meeting will have to vote on. But I just want to warn you all that it is something that the mandates are there, and the fees are probably going to have to be implemented at some point. But that'll be a community discussion coming up, but you reminded me, Seth, about that one just today. We talked about it. My fee in Franklin, I believe, is $160 a year. It's big for me, which I think Lance said he was expecting to do a lighter version. So, but just to give you some context, that's where I'm at. So the next one,
And
yes.
if I could just offshoot that, that was a big part of the discussion when we did the building fees redo.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a big discussion on that. So I think we all have, to keep that in mind.
Right.
Yeah. That like set the tone for all the others.
Yep.
And one other interesting note, the governor just presented a plan for some modernization, and a couple of the proposals involve increasing the local option meals tax and the hotel tax. So that's not yet in place, but that would be something that the community will likely want to discuss, whether that's something the town will want to do. So stay tuned for that. It's being bandied about at the state level. Also an increase on excise tax, which I'm sure will go over real well. But these are coming from the governor level, but I do think there'll be discussion items. She was trying, the way she presented them was, she's trying to provide more, increased ability to the communities to fund programs. We're all seeing some tightening going on, so. But again, that's all has to be voted at town meeting. It's not something we would do unilaterally, but just a heads up, that might be coming as a discussion item. Next has to do again with the fiscal health, financial health of the town, and this is again focused around capital improvement needs. And I don't have too much to say about that except an example of how we're trying to address it. The finance department did present at the summit a possibility of bonding for sidewalks. I don't think that really is something the community is going to embrace, but we wanted to show you how there are other ways to look at it. I think what came out of that, what I heard, is that we need to get into a strategic plan. Building on what we heard is, there are a lot of community priorities, and how do we rank them? How do we decide? And does the board decide? Does town meeting decide? Does the citizen petition at town meeting floor decide what the priorities are? So I think it's important for us, and that'll be a focus coming up, is strategic planning to figure out, for example, where the sidewalks fit in the whole thing. And that's just one example. Communications position is going to be important to that. Just so you all know, and you'll know more when we discuss the budget, but I have actually scaled back the communications position from a director back to a specialist due to fiscal concerns. So I can get into more at any point on that, but we are going to be looking for a specialist as opposed to a director, just because we are finding the budgets challenging this year, and we want to be sensitive. Also, as I've mentioned, I've interviewed so many, and really to get a director position, it's out of our price range. I mean, the one person we really wanted ended up being wooed by the private sector at a $60,000 higher rate. So I want a $150,000 communication director. That's not happening. So now I'm looking for someone who would be on more of the entry level, younger, and we'll work with that person. But I just want to let you know. But we do have still same expectations. We'll just be a little more, we wouldn't necessarily come as polished and as experienced, but we do believe we can find someone who can assist us with what we want to do, and we'll work with her on that. So that's the latest news out of that. We definitely want to focus on that. And I can say that the Board of Health, Matt Brennan is really good at focusing on all things related to goals. And he pointed out that, he worked on the 131 Moore Street, looking at that, getting a brownfields grant, again, trying to figure out ways for funding opportunities. Okay, next. So this has to do with the financial trend monitoring. That's going to be updated for the GFOA budget book this spring. And we're just now sent out requests for capital improvement. It's actually not due yet, but we are starting to see a lot of capital requests sort of mulling around. So Marie yesterday and I discussed it, and we sent out an email saying, hey, could you please give us a heads up sooner rather than later, because we are starting to see a lot percolating. So we are trying to get a handle on that. The budget process is well underway. We're using the guidelines, and I'll be issuing a recommended budget on February 1st, which is Thursday, and then we'll be discussing that on February 13th. ARPA is well underway. We have many projects, and I don't know if you're all familiar, but on the town side of ARPA, we have body cameras, school IT upgrades, music department equipment replacement, and we replaced a 1-ton dump truck. And then on the county side, we had the recreation area, which was the pool, the North Street water main project, the dams, water meters, and the Walnut Street sewer. So those are, we are spending them. We had a recent meeting last week with the county, and we know all the rules we have to follow on that. So that is definitely working for us. Got a lot done with ARPA. Now on to community engagement. I've already sort of mentioned we're hoping to fill the communications position by February, so we have a lot to do on that. We want to finalize the strategic communications plan, and we really need to focus on community engagement. We are, that we've all discussed that. You heard it in my interview. I mean, we're lacking, not us alone, but sort of our society these days. We have no way to get feedback. We have no way to give information in an effective manner. Social media is not the way, in my opinion. So we very much want to figure out how best to communicate and hear from our residents. Again, working on the website, that will be, Katie's been doing work on it, but she is juggling 4 million things, but she's working really hard right now on updating all the boards and committees, making sure the website's accurate. We are still hoping with the new communications specialist to be able to get those websites a little more uniform and a little more, make sure that the content is exactly what we want. So that's another stay tuned. Back into promoting, enhancing business and economic development. So we have the town manager and the director of land use and economic development. That's me this year. It was all me. But we always present every year at the Tri-Town Chamber breakfast. In March, I'll be speaking to the Neponset River Regional Chamber of Commerce. They're having a State of the Towns meeting, so I'll speak about the trends, what's going on, economic development and whatnot, then take questions from the business community. The Director of Land Use and Economic Development and the Director of Human Services and the Recreation Director attend FCBC meetings once a month, so we work closely with the Uptown community. And then Mark in Human Services always focuses on the impact to businesses when he's planning a community event. And sometimes they're positive, when we're having Light Up Town, it's great for the businesses, but sometimes when you close a street for a couple hours for a car show, it might have another impact. So he's very cognizant of that, and he really does work hard to ensure that they minimize any negatives and really foster the positive. And then also when new business comes to town, Mark and his team really try to have an event to introduce the business. For example, I went over there a month or so ago and served Milk and Allie's cookies. And, they do Shoveltown events. They try to do that. And then we've been doing, as you know, the ribbon cuttings. So we really try to engage with the businesses as much as they'll let us. And then I can't say enough about our building department and health and fire. They really do yeoman's work over there with inspections, getting things set up, working under tight deadlines. I consider them extremely user-friendly, so they are doing the work very well. And then police and fire, they're always accessible, cooperative. I don't think people are scared of our public safety departments. They're members of the team. They're by no means, coming out with batons. All right, going on to the climate and how to make sure we have safe business practices. Each department is very involved in continuing education. You just saw the police department and their strategic plan. I mean, unbelievable what they were doing. I had no idea. And then the fire department will probably be coming in shortly with their own presentation about their accreditation. I did ask Mike about that today. We are poised to be nationally accredited. We've been recommended, and it will be, we hope, it'll be voted at the end of February. We would be the third community in New England, the only one in Massachusetts, and then we'd be 1 out of 2 ISO Class 1 and accredited departments in New England, other than Hartford, Connecticut. And fewer than 100 fire departments in the nation have both Class 1 and are accredited. So it's really a testament to our team. And it demonstrates the top-of-the-line operations at the fire department and really at all our public safety. Back on to encouraging development. The master plan is due for an update next year. I have put in a CIP request. I laugh at it because I don't think I'm going to get it, but maybe we'll get a little. We'll see. We'll plug away. We got a little bit of a grant. It's going to take a while if we go that approach. But we'll see. It's in there for the second year in a row. I won't go over the Uptown Foxborough successes. You've all heard me talk about those. We all know that. And we did get a $40,000, back to the master plan, grant to begin master plan outreach, sort of building off the MBTA communities outreach as well. So stay tuned for that. Almost done. MBTA communities, we did get the commuter rail service permanent, and I checked with Chris on the railroad crossings, and Chestnut Street and Elm Street are the only two remaining crossings that have not received a concrete panel upgrade, but they did do some asphalt work around them, but it's not yet a full upgrade, so we're hoping that those two, but we have seen improvement on the others. We work very closely with our state delegation on many of these issues, and they're extremely helpful. Let's see. MBTA communities, as you know, that's well underway. There's a zoning proposal drafted, and the planning board public hearing is scheduled for February 22nd. Modern and professional town operations. So I already mentioned the assessors and DPW reorgs. The building department, they are fully staffed at this point, and they were the inaugural permitized software. The local inspector just completed his, I'm going to mention that later, he just passed his first exam, and he's waiting for state approval to continue, so he's doing great, and there's some succession planning going on there if needed. And the Veteran Services has transitioned to the Senior Center, and that better assists the veterans by giving them an environment that's collaborative in nature. So that was an upgrade. And with respect to IT, we're always getting these wonderful training opportunities. They come through, they're mandatory. And I know we all gripe about them, but they really have, I've learned things like don't plug in your phone to the little ports at the hotels or the airports, because it could be a phishing scheme. I used to think it was like, great, you can charge there, but it turns out they're not secure. So little things like that, it's really been valuable. I know Aaron at IT just got a cyber grant awarded. We don't know the details, but we got tipped off that was happening. And we are having bi-weekly meetings with Aaron. I'm having bi-weekly meetings with Aaron. Right now we're focused on public safety with respect to that. And just this week, or last week, we got Office 365 with multi-factor authentication, and some computer upgrades are underway. So there's been a lot going on there. Okay, and then on to 360-degree feedback. That is not yet started. I know it's coming. I get to be the guinea pig apparently on that one. And we've been in transition for 12 to 18 months. So I think I'm imagining Paige Eppolito would take the lead on that, but she's been a tremendous asset, and I know she'll do a great job with that. This is the last one.
You'll be the only one that goes through the...
No, but I imagine that I don't know if I'll be the guinea pig or what. I don't know how we'll do it, but I just figured that's where it keeps coming up in this venue. So I'll be working with Paige on that and see sort of the timing of it on that. But I guess I need more information from this group as to what your vision was on that. So. And then this is my last slide. So talking about the town, quote unquote, charter, I know there's been some discussions, and I can say that the Board of Health had actually submitted an article seeking to go to an appointed Board of Health versus an elected Board of Health. When we mentioned that was probably better to be part of a larger discussion, they pulled the article, but we did say that we knew there was some interest on this board to start discussing that. So that's something, tentatively underway, and we'll assume the communications specialist will assist with that, and that'll be something we all have to work on and figure out the best strategies of where we want to go.
There's a lot behind that page, right? And it's probably a multi-year type of initiative.
It is, yeah.
But to get started is where we want to be, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that was delayed. Like, we had talked about doing it before Bill left, but it didn't make sense to do it. So it kind of has fallen in the transition as well. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can make some steam on that one.
That's it.
Thank you.
So that's your update. I don't know if does anybody have any questions on our goals and where we've been, what we're doing? Would you like me to email you a copy of this PowerPoint with the notes in it?
Yeah, that'd be great, and just getting them out there in this meeting right now for people to look at and understand what they are is, I think, a big step. So, community can see and react to what we're trying to move forward on. So I think that was really
There's a
helpful.
lot that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, we
And
all know that.
I think next year we might want to relook it, or maybe condense some of them too, but just timing wasn't right with the transition and everything this year, so just as we think forward, something to keep in mind for next year.
Great. Thank you, Paige.
Was the blue and gold, was that Mark or was that you? The blue and gold color scheme?
Mine was white with black or navy. No, mine was god awful, but I was like, I ran out of time. I didn't have time to make it pretty, but he came through. So he actually sent me 4 options.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And I saved the template to every single one of them because you will see all of them in the upcoming, or I could show them to the communications specialist.
Yeah, and then the communications will have
And
a
they'll
brand
tell
that
me
we-
what
yeah.
way to go, and we won't be able to choose because you'll notice every PowerPoint is different. So hopefully that will be something we have a brand in the future.
Awesome.
Nice.
Strategic plan, we sort of discussed that already.
Yeah, I think we just want to make sure we get that, we start figuring out how we're going to figure that out. To Leah's point, I think the goals, I think it's all sort of combined, and I think those goals were sort of town manager goals, they became town goals. I think we could do better.
Yeah, but it's a good place to start.
Yes, yes.
Really good
And then,
place.
so we have like sort of our goals for like this organization here, but then we also have our community-wide goals. So it's multi-factored, so it can be overwhelming, and we kind of have to figure out, we're coming up into a very busy season, so it's just trying to keep that all on the, sort of on the forefront, on the dashboard,
Yeah,
shall
and
we
then
say.
thinking about that with the GFOA, it ties into that, so we almost have to do it earlier than we think next year, so.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that in time. The GFOA is going to come up quickly, so we'll want to do that.
Yeah.
All right, take a sip of water. You're up again.
All right, I don't have too much this time, luckily. So National Grid is coming in on February 13th. I did speak to them yesterday, and they're still going to come in on the 13th, but I think we're also discussing a more interactive manner by which residents can communicate. I mean, it wouldn't be directly with National Grid, but perhaps sending in letters and then getting some direct feedback or answers. But I asked that he still come in on the 13th. They're working on this in other communities, and maybe it's a better, a more responsive way rather than once a year, and giving the residents maybe a little satisfaction. So stay tuned for that. But we'll be speaking to, there'll be a couple of them coming in on the 13th.
And even, if we could have both, even better, but I think that's the only opportunity that we really hear from them, to hear some of the upgrades or some of the problems that they realized were happening and why things were happening. So I still think there's some value in that session where they kind of tell us what's going on.
Agreed.
For sure, as well.
Because one of the blackouts, a citizen had texted me, and I was able to go on the website and find out where it was, how much was affected. So maybe even them just talking about the interaction that their website can have
Sure.
in situations, again, would be a good idea.
And
To piggyback off what,
I think 3 of them that I can think of lately aren't even, like, there's been accidents, polls have been, I think.
Yeah, there's 3 of them,
There's been 3
definitely, yeah.
polls, so.
And as soon as it happens, National Grid again.
Yeah.
Somebody called me and I said, time out, I'm not gonna stick up for National Grid, I know we've had issues,
Yeah.
but they can't control when somebody, so down near me, that corner.
Yeah, yeah.
Twice, and then I think.
Elm Street twice,
was-
Main Street
was-
once.
Yeah, Main Street
that's-
just had one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
and
been a lot.
the other night, but it seemed like it was very short.
But a lot of people did lose their power, so some of my
Yeah.
friends over there, like, mine flickered and came back on, but some people lost it for a
Yeah.
little bit longer.
Yeah, something's in the water crazy with all these, cars, poles. There's been quite a few.
I know,
it
I'd be
seems.
actually curious to hear, like, I don't know who it is it police, is it DPW, like,
What's going on?
What's going on, if we're counting right, I think that's 5 then,
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Something, I actually saw something, I don't know if it was Foxborough discussion or not. There was, somebody actually put a post saying that put the picture of the National Grid. Did anyone else see that? Like the truck, they were cutting branches and actually made kind of a nice, I'm trying to think of it, maybe it was a friend, I'm trying to think of where I saw it, but actually made a nice comment, like, look at National Grid, they're out there, trimming
We
branches.
do like to hear
and-
about their tree trimming when they come, that's for sure.
I did mention that. I
Okay,
told him
yeah.
that we'd want to hear about that.
Yeah.
The other two things I have, again, February 13th, busy agenda, February 22nd, MBTA Communities Public Hearing. From accomplishments, like I always like to mention that, I did mention, so local inspector Gil Bonin received a certificate from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Office of Public Safety and Inspections Board of Building Regulations and Standards for successfully completing and passing the final examination for onboard training for municipal and state building inspectors. So that's those are hard tests, so hats off. He walked by me with it, and I was like, wait, I need that, and he was horrified, but, love to embarrass him for the good of them. Open positions, we have a communications director, but no, it's a specialist due to funding and whatnot. We have a director of land use and economic development, a recreation coordinator, and a water tech, so we have some jobs open. With respect to the budget, like I said, we're finalizing that. The numbers that will be missing will be the liability, property, and health numbers, big numbers, but we have gotten our state numbers and our other fixed costs. AdCom starts meeting on February 7th with DPW. I won't be able to be there because I'll be on vacation. I'll talk about that in a minute, but just so you know, they do. And I don't believe they televise their meetings, so you have to come in person. Civics class, if you recall, last year we held a civics class with the Ahern Middle School. We'll be working on that again this year. And hero of the day again, Mark Craig has taken the lead on that one. So can't thank him enough for doing that. I will be working with him, but he's going to help sort of coordinate it, and we'll put together a great day sometime in late May
We'll
or
probably need
mid-May.
someone from this board to just think about it. I did it last year. It is work, like a lot of work, like actually putting together a mock selectmen's meeting and working with Mr. Gill and Mr. Williams, but it was really, really fun. So
It's pretty
I
cool
think
seeing the kids.
I think, I'll certainly kick it off because I think we have some lessons learned, things we want to do differently, but we might reach out to see if anyone wants to.
Yeah, I already mentioned to
Yeah.
Paige that if it's a Tuesday, Thursday, I'm in.
Okay. Yeah, it all depends on the buses.
I know.
Yeah, so.
And then second to last, so the South Street and Cedar Street water main is still going on, but it's slowed down. They have a couple more connections, and they're doing a few little bits of work, but it may stop now, weather permitting, because of the weather. And then lastly, starting Friday, I'm going to be on vacation through next week, so Aruba, here I come. Going to check out Steph's favorite place,
Oh, my God.
Leah's favorite place.
She gives
Yeah.
good restaurant recommendations, so make sure you get some from her.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit today. I said, if you need anything, just let me know. It's, something, you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Unofficial mayor.
I know.
Exactly. We have all our, the kids even have their 10-year, 15-year, like Ryan, until COVID, Ryan was on schedule to make her 20 years in a row.
Wow.
Wow.
And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh yeah, every year, they were babies, they were 6 months old, and you'll enjoy it. Well-deserved rest for you.
Thank you.
Well-deserved
Thank you.
rest.
You'll fall in love with it.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
Do we have anything for Selectmen's update?
Well, I bet you just came from the basketball game.
Yes.
So who won? See how predictable we know your schedule now. Taunton, oh, bummer.
Well,
Okay.
we got
Boys.
outscored 9-0 in the first minute. That we couldn't break the full court press, but then we played them fairly evenly.
Oh, bummer.
And then the middle school played at halftime, and that was pretty cool.
Oh, thank you for the update.
Sure. Hey, I'm in the schools now.
All right, action items.
All right, so we've got a few. First one is motion to approve the use of public way application for Bailey's Team for Autism on Sunday, April 14th at 10 a.m. start time, down at Payson Road towards Chestnut Street, left on Chestnut, right on Mechanic, right on Railroad Ave, left on Bird, right on Baker, left on Chestnut, right on Payson, and back to the start. I did that in my head as I went around.
Really? Second.
Any further discussion?
Just kudos to them. A long time ago, when I had a little bit more time, I helped out with this event, and they're wonderful. And I mean, everybody knows that, our family's affected by autism, and they really do a lot of wonderful things for, even, you know, talk about like grants and stuff. They're, they've donated computers to kids and, kids that, I'm not even gonna get into it. They do a lot. They're good people, and their son has been very successful, made it, gone through college and stuff like that. So, good luck to Bailey's team for their run.
Great,
Good
thank
event.
you. All those in favor? Aye.
Motion to approve the use of public way application for Lowrider Depot's The Opener, season opener car show / meetup on Sunday, April 14th, noon to 4 PM at 10 Annette Road.
Where is that?
It's kind of like down by,
Off Lincoln
I'm going to
Road.
call it the old Rodman Gym. If
Yeah,
you go
yeah,
way
yeah.
back, I don't
It's off of Route 1.
Interest
Yeah,
Fitness,
that's what I
that kind of
thought it
like
was.
T,
Yeah, yep, okay, that's right, that's
This is
second.
like, maybe like third time for that?
Yeah, they've done a
Yeah.
couple, yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
All right, and then we have a couple sets of minutes. So, motion to approve January 10th, January 11th, and January 16th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.